After an exciting and entertaining first week, the Overwatch League is back with its second week of matches. I'm here to bring you a brief preview of each day's matches before making my predictions at the end of the video. Day 1 of week 2 kicks off with the Washington Justice up against the London Spitfire, who both come into this matchup without a win. These teams looked very poor last week, as their lineup struggled to adapt to the 3-3 meta, which perhaps means this series might be more competitive than many would have thought at the beginning of the season. For the Justice, they will need to show a greater level of skill individually to find success, whilst the Spitfire must display an ability to adapt and coordinate their players within this 3-3 meta. The Philadelphia Fusion play the Florida Mayhem in the following series, in which the Mayhem must exhibit some level of quality or look to change their entire playstyle to a 3 or 4 DPS composition to try and fit Sire player into the lineup, if they want to put up any competition moving forward. For the Fusion, meanwhile, this match is an important test to show they can perform at their high level consistently, even against a bad team. The two following games bring with them some very intriguing matchups that should better reveal the level of the Guangzhou Charge and the Chengdu Hunters, who play against the Dallas Fuel and the Seoul Dynasty respectively. The first of these two matches will explore how the aggressive, chaotic team fighting of the Charge does against a Fuel side whose Jekyll and Hyde persona will decide the competitiveness of this matchup. To conclude the first day, will the Dynasty be able to return to the skill level and flexibility of their first match of last week, and how will they deal with the Hunters' use of Hammond to disrupt their 3-3 composition? Moving on to day 2, we start with the Atlanta Reign up against the Toronto Defiant, with both expansion teams looking to progress further following impressive week 1 performances. With many now rating the Reign squad highly after week 1, the battle between the tanks of each side's 3-3 comps will be crucial, especially if an underappreciated Defiant squad looks to snatch the limelight from Defran and co. The New York Excelsior face the LA Valiant afterwards, in an interesting matchup that should end with us knowing a bit more clearly where both teams stand. Will the NYXL improve the polish of their triple DPS and the 3-3 comps, and will Kuki step up to the plate, given his apparent new role as starting main support? Eyes will once again be on the Shanghai Dragons, who face off against the Boston Uprising in the third game of day 2. With a massive disparity between the two team 3-3 comps, the only clear route for a Dragons victory lies in them being able to use their triple DPS comp to grind down a one-dimensional Uprising side. In the final game of the day, the Houston Outlaws play the standout expansion team so far, the Hangzhou Spark, with their support players holding the Outlaws back so far, leading to 2 Game 5 defeats. The main battle of the day will be how players like Muma, Coolmat and Dante perform against their equally as impressive counterparts, Gushui, Nosmite and Rhea, if they wish to find their first victory of the 2019 season. As we move into the weekend and day 3, we begin with a match that on paper puts together 2 evenly matched teams, as the LA Gladiators take on the Paris Eternal. Will the Gladiators be able to utilise their Overwatch League experience to deal with an Eternal side who has shown great execution of the 3-3 comp behind ruthless aggression led by their support, Cruz? That match is followed by the Philadelphia Fusion versus the Dallas Fuel, with the Fuel looking to cement themselves as a solid playoff contender by beating a side that up to now has shown the greatest level of consistent quality transferring over from last season. That's if Dallas, either in their earlier match this week or here, can overcome their dual personality issues. The Guangzhou Charge and Chengdu Hunters once again play back to back, this time against the Vancouver Titans and the Florida Mayhem. The Charge face a very tough challenge against the Titans, who themselves will be looking to validate their quality against some stiffer competition that a player like Eileen on Sombra may pose against a 3-3 machine. The Hunters behind their Hammond play will look to distance themselves from a Mayhem unit that, unless changes are made to, look to once again rest at the foot of the table for a second season in a row. Day 4 offers up 4 great games, with the Hangzhou Spark kicking us off against the London Spitfire. Gesture and Fury will be looking to bring the Spitfire into contention, as they square off against the new kids on the block, Gushui, No Smite and Rhea, as the reigning champs look to avoid falling further behind the rest of his pack at this early stage. This is followed by the New York Excelsior against the Houston Outlaws, in a match that the Outlaws hope their tank line can diminish the major disparity of the support play of the two sides, particularly between that of Jonek and Raucus, if they wish to pull off the upset. The Toronto Defiant face the LA Valiant in the next series, which should highlight, after solid 3-3 play to this point, which of these teams can be considered a real contender moving forward. In the final match of the week, we have the mouth-watering clash of the Vancouver Titans versus the San Francisco Shock. The Titans, assuming they don't slip up against the charge, will see this as their perfect opportunity to validate their claims of being the best 3-3 team in the world, as they look to best a Shock lineup that largely confirm many analysts' predictions of quality prior to the season. For the Shock, this is a great opportunity in their only game of the week to make up for the LA Gladiators game that they narrowly lost, and defeat one of the most anticipated and hyped up teams at this early stage. After some solid predictions last week, where I finished 9-7, I will now make my week 2 predictions, hoping for a little more success, as I start with day 1. On this first day, I think the London Spitfire will pick up their very first win with a 3-1 victory over the Washington Justice, although it might not be pretty. And I would be very surprised if the Philadelphia Fusion didn't 4-0 a sorry-looking Florida Mayhem squad. I'm banking on the Jekyll Dallas Fuel appearing in a competitive 3-1 win over the Guangzhou Charge, whilst I feel the Seoul Dynasty will struggle a little more with the Chengdu Hunters, but still come out on top 3-2. Moving on to day 2, I see the Atlanta Reign continuing their impressive start, with a 3-1 win over the Toronto Defiant, which I think will be followed by a very narrow 3-2 victory for the NYXL over the LA Valiant. Unfortunately, I still don't see the streak being broken yet for the Shanghai Dragons, who will struggle through a 3-1 loss against the dominant 3-3 of the Boston Uprising. Then, unlike in week 1, I don't see the Houston Outlaws reaching a Game 5, but instead losing inside 4 games, 3-1 to the new hotshots, the Hangzhou Spark. I think day 3 might be the most exciting day of matches, and will start off with the cracker of the series, in which the LA Gladiators will just edge out the Paris Eternal 3-2. Equally, although a little risky, I'm going to put my faith in the Dallas Fuel to perform well, but still lose in a 3-2 loss to the Philadelphia Fusion. Until I see evidence otherwise, I'm also going to ride the Vancouver Titans, aka Runaway, hype train, as I think they'll dismantle the Guangzhou Charge 4-0. And I don't see the Florida Mayhem really offering up any resistance in the final match of the day, as I see them losing 4-0 to the Chengdu Hunters. To round off my predictions on the final day, I see the Hangzhou Spark condemning the London Spitfire to yet another defeat by a score of 3-1, before the NYXL defeat the Outlaws by the same scoreline of 3-1. In a very entertaining game, I think the LA Valiant will triumph over the Toronto Defiant 3-1, before the Vancouver Titans lose their first map of the Overwatch League, but still in a 3-1 victory over the San Francisco Shock. And with that, I'd like to thank you for watching. Check out my week 1 power rankings and breakdown if you missed them, which I'll link down below. And please like and subscribe for more Overwatch League content moving forward.